Do I have everybody's attention now?
Welcome to the Wrestling Wrap-Up with Michael and Aaron, where we take the top headlines and most important moments in professional wrestling history, and we examine them right here for you, the fan. It's the Wrestling Wrap-Up with Michael and Aaron, and it begins right now. Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're watching from, whatever time it is. This is the Wrestling Wrap-Up with Michael Carnahan and Aaron, and coming into you live on Facebook as well as YouTube. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and give us a like, share the page, and head on over to YouTube. If you're on YouTube currently, go on over to Facebook, but don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know whenever we are uploading. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my co-host for this show, Mr. Aaron. Aaron, how you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
Hey, it's another day in paradise. I'm pretty excited about our topic today. Backlash 2001 is going to be one of the best pay-per-views in the history of the WWE, or as it was known then, the WWF. But real quick, some sad news to get to. Friday, the wrestling world lost a legend in pro wrestling, and especially extreme and hardcore wrestling in New Jack, who passed away of a heart attack. So, of course, want to send our thoughts, prayers, condolences along to the family. Aaron?
I didn't get to watch a lot of ECW, but New Jack is, like you said, he's a legend, and losing him sucks. It really does, especially as young as he was. He was like 50, 57, 58, something like that. So it sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peace.
Died of natural causes. The guy looks like died of a heart attack, from what I understand. They said a lot of the posts I saw said something about cocaine being a hell of a drug, and yeah, I mean, if that were the case, then I wouldn't be surprised, because New Jack was a unique individual, and he had a unique stamp on the wrestling business, and he would have went out the way that we would have expected him to have.
Yeah, he had some great promos. He was good in the ring, although I think even he admitted at times he wasn't a wrestler; he was a fighter. He was a gangster. So he liked to get in the ring and fight and do the hardcore stuff. I like hardcore wrestling. But his promos are great. It's just awesome. And the one about the one he did at Smoky Mountain, where he said something like, way to go, OJ, two less we have to worry about. I mean, he was so good at pissing people off, making people mad.
It really was.
And his promos are great.
And then, of course, the mass transit incident and all of that. We may just have to do a deep dive on the show into some New Jack matches. Though, in case you can't tell, we're going to try something new today. We're going to do a classic pay-per-view review here on the Wrestling Wrap-Up. We're going to be talking about Backlash 2001. And I texted you with this idea earlier in the week, Aaron, and, the first thing you came back with was, yeah, let's do Backlash 01. So I think I came back with, I was thinking about doing 04, but, you kind of sold me on Backlash 01. It was a great event. It took place April 29th, 2001, so we just passed the 20th anniversary of this show. Holy crap, by the way, that makes you feel old. I was 11 years old when this show happened, so do the math and you get my age. But definitely one of the premier events when you look back at pro wrestling, and it definitely shows you a sign of the time, so to speak, with pro wrestling and where we were as a business back in 2001. It gives you a quick snapshot of what was going on. I believe Aaron's on the road, so he'll probably be joining us pretty quickly back here. But just want to give you some background information on and there he is messaging me. Just want to give you some quick background information on the event. It took place, like I said, 20 years ago. The attendance was 15,592, but it was reported that the attendance was actually 17,154, a buy rate of 375,000 people tuned in and paid their, I guess, $50 at this point for this event. This is coming hot off the heels of WrestleMania 17. Top to bottom, what is considered as the greatest WrestleMania in the history of the World Wrestling Federation. And, you know, top to bottom, possibly the greatest pay-per-view, not just WrestleMania, pay-per-view ever in that era. Of course, we're coming hot off, again, the Stone Cold heel turn at the end of WrestleMania X7, where Stone Cold actually, shockingly, aligned himself with Vince McMahon to become the World Wrestling Federation champion again, defeating The Rock in the main event of that WrestleMania. A great matchup. We'll have to do that WrestleMania 1 week on this show, but my goodness, great match. But as we'll get into this, me and Aaron have some disagreements on the heel turn as a whole. I think, as a lot of other wrestling fans think, that it was a complete failure. I think that the fans just, in this case, Stone Cold was an enigma. And the fans just couldn't hate him at that point. Kind of like where we are today with Triple H, as a character at least. Where we are, you know, with Ric Flair. You can't hate Ric Flair. You know, you absolutely love him, even though as a character he's a complete asshole. You still love him. So definitely, you know, something to keep your eye on throughout this event. Another thing that I noticed looking at this, there were no women's matches on the card this night. The only women's match that actually occurred on this night was Lita defeating Molly Holly. It was not for the women's championship at that point. So definitely another sign of the times. And we got Aaron back here. Aaron, real quick, I was just talking about some of the background with the Stone Cold heel turn. I told everybody, you know, me and you may disagree on this. So talk us through why you enjoyed the Stone Cold heel turn.
I just thought it was entertaining. I understand that money-wise and fan-wise overall, it wasn't very good. People didn't like it. I know Stone Cold said he wishes he didn't do it. I found it thoroughly entertaining. I love the heel Stone Cold. And especially with the injuries he had going on at the time, he had to do more backstage stuff with Kurt Angle, more comedy. But when he got in the ring, he was still Stone Cold Steve Austin. He might have threw a few heel things in there, like, you know, begging off, which he did quite a bit in the match with the Undertaker. But overall, you still got the stomp in the mud hole, walking it dry, ass kicking Stone Cold when the match started. But in the promos and the stuff building up to the match, side of him, and I just thought it was thoroughly entertaining. I loved it until the whole Alliance crap happened. I didn't particularly like the Alliance Stone Cold because I didn't like anything about the Alliance. But from WrestleMania until Invasion, I love the heel Stone Cold.
Right. And see, that's the thing about the Stone Cold situation. Probably the best thing that did come out of that were those backstage segments with Kurt Angle, and those were just absolutely priceless. As it looks like we lost Aaron again. Definitely, like I said, those were priceless. They were, you know, they still stand the test of time, and they helped put Angle on another level. I mean, you got to think, coming off of this, Angle had just dropped his first WWF title back in February, and now we're April? We are in April, yes. We are in April. So, you know, certainly, again, something to, you know, keep your thoughts on when looking at this. The angle just off of his first run with the WWF title wasn't really still, for me at least, he still wasn't on the Stone Cold Rock level. He was getting there, but he still wasn't there yet, quite yet. We'll go ahead and start getting into the matchups here. The opening contest kind of surprised me a little bit. It was X Factor defeating the Dudley Boys. X Factor consisting of X-Pac, Just Incredible, and A-Train, and their absolutely beautiful freaking theme song from Uncle Kracker. And they defeated the Dudley Boys, Bubba, Devon, and Spike in a 6-man tag. The matchup was actually 8 minutes long. I put that I really enjoyed the quick pace that they set with Just Incredible and Spike Dudley beginning the matchup. The crowd was completely on fire. That's the one thing that you're going to hear me mention multiple times throughout this review of this pay-per-view is how hot the crowd was at this time. The crowd, I wish we could have a crowd. I understand it's the Rosemont Horizon. I understand it's Chicago, Illinois, and that's a hot wrestling town. But my goodness, the crowd was hot during this. I wish we could get another crowd like this crowd we had here this night in Chicago for this pay-per-view, because they were on fire except for in certain key moments. I thought it was an interesting choice for Devon to take the heat. Obviously, you would think that Spike Dudley, being the small guy, that he would be the one to take the heat in the tag team matchup. But Devon actually takes the heat in this matchup. I thought it was a beautiful hot tag, timing off a little bit with Just Incredible. It looked like, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it looked like his feet work was off when Bubba came in, and I believe he was throwing the jabs. So, small stuff like that you notice that kind of stands out. I like the nice banana peel slip, as they call it, from Bubba to the finish. I gave this one 3 stars, and I like how they gave the faces their heat back, so to speak. And I believe it was X-Pac that went through the table to finish this off. Of course, the crowd wanting the table throughout the opening contest finally gets their spot after the bell. The Dudley Boys do end up putting X-Pac through the table, but X Factor winning the match, 3 stars for this one. In the next contest, we had Rhino versus Raven. Rhino defending the Hardcore Championship against Raven. This one went 8 minutes and 11 seconds. I enjoyed the quick and fast-paced action of this contest. I did notice that there was a stiff boot to the trash can and a nice bump from Raven on the outside of this thing. Just something that sticks out to me whenever I go back and watch that. That was a beautiful spot, well put together for this contest. The nasty drop toe hold onto the shopping cart. That thing was nasty looking, but it was, of course, safe as all get out. I love the fact that in a hardcore match, they used multiple near falls. They told a good story. They had each competitor was in jeopardy. That's what I love about this, is that each competitor was in jeopardy, and you didn't really know who was going to win until the final outcome. I loved the fact that they did the gore into the shopping cart. I kind of giggled at that one because, the big old man beast strapped in the shopping cart was quite hilarious. But what was awkward to me is he goes from being trapped into the shopping cart, and he just ran into the shopping cart with the gore. So you got to imagine he's probably coming at this with some force, so to speak. And, 30 seconds later, he wins with the gore. So that kind of took me out of it a little bit. 3.5 stars on this one for me for Rhino and Raven. I thought overall it was a good match. Like I said, I enjoyed the gore into the shopping cart. I love the fact that they used the multiple near falls, but the finish kind of took me out of it a little bit. Aaron, what were your thoughts on the first and second matchups?
So I'm an unabashed, unapologetic fan of X-Pac. To go back to the first match, I thought Sean Waltman was one of the most underrated of all time. I'm a huge fan. I love the group X Factor because Just Incredible is great as well.
And I
So
mean, let's be honest, their theme was just tops.
what's that?
Their theme song was just tops. That Uncle Cracker.
Oh
theme
yeah,
song.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I already talked to you about this yesterday. Where the heck was Uncle Cracker? Come on, Peacock. He cut out Uncle Cracker. I love the X Factor theme. So yeah, and the Douglas. So you had 6 guys who I legitimately am a huge fan of. So I was excited anyway because I love the Dudleys too. And the match was so fun. It was energetic. It was fast paced. Just Incredible is another guy. Sean Waltman and Just Incredible, two of the most underrated guys I've ever seen. Just Incredible could do things that are just incredible, and his name's a great play on that. And so I loved the match. I thought it was fast paced. I gave it 4 stars, and maybe I overdid it. I'm such a huge fan. But my only issue was the aftermath. I mean, if you're going to give X Factor the win, then why put him through a table? It doesn't make any sense to me why they did that.
Well, see, I enjoyed that.
If you want the well, I didn't mind it if the Dudleys had won.
Dudleys your heat back.
Well, yeah, but give them the win then. I mean, I think they should just gave them the win. I'd have been okay if the Dudleys win the match, and then put X-Pac through a table as sort of an exclamation. That was the end of their rivalry, pretty much. So, it's a nitpicky gripe, but that's what any gripe I have on this show is going to be nitpicky anyway because I absolutely love the show. But
so, what did you think of Rhino and Raven?
That's another one that I guess when the match started, I'm admittedly not a huge fan of Rhino. Never really been a huge fan of Rhino, but he was made for the hardcore matches. The hardcore,
absolutely
type of matches was what Rhino. And I'm not saying he can't work. I've seen him work in TNA. He can work, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, Rhino was built for hardcore stuff anyway. And Raven is probably in my top 10 favorites of all time. I think the guy's, again, another guy criminally underrated for how good Raven was. Not just his promos. His promos were great. But if you go back and watch his early WCW stuff when he was Scotty Flamingo, the dude can go. He can get in the ring. He can go. I mean, he had some matches with Brian Pillman that were just phenomenal. So the hardcore match, it fit both characters perfectly. It was a lot of fun. I love the spot with the shopping cart. Rhino's gore in the shopping cart was great.
Beautiful.
And then Raven using the kitchen sink to bash the shopping cart. I'm with you. I thought the ending was kind of abrupt. I mean, they should have built it up a little bit more. But other than that, I gave it 3.5 stars. I really liked it.
Yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was awkward that Rhino hits the shopping cart, and then, like I said, about 30 seconds later, he hits the gore and picks up the victory. That was the only real knock I had on it. I was like, that one kind of takes it out for me a little bit. But hey, it's WWF in the early 2000s. So next up, Aaron, we get the Shane promo, a recap of his SmackDown spot, Stone Cold and the Duchess of Queensberry promo. I said it was a nice use of rhymes from the children's story, classic Shane O'Mac promo. I thought it was a great promo from Austin about the main event and a great promo from Regal all around. What do you think about this spots?
Yeah, they were great, and that's what they should. I mean, if you're gonna cut on a pay-per-view and do backstage stuff, they need to be really good. And the Shane and the Beanstalk was still one of my. I could quote that thing. It was great, man. I loved it, and I loved the whole "Which way did he go" thing that Shane used to do to Big Show all the time. He'd hit him and run. Which way did he go, Big Show? Which way did he go?
Absolutely.
And this is another heel Stone Cold promo where this was way more serious, but it was vicious and to the point. Like, I'm going to kick their ass and take their belts. Nobody's going to stop me kind of thing. I ain't worried about losing my belt because I'm going to kick both their asses and take it. And William Regal.
Oh, gosh. So criminally underrated.
Yes, I feel like I've used this too much already, but it's true. I mean, that's another guy that's just you and I have talked in the past about the Miz not getting the credit he deserves for how good he is. William Regal, X-Pac, and Just Incredible are three other guys that I think are in that category. They'll never get credit for as good as they really were. William Regal was phenomenal. He should have been a champion at one point.
I can't disagree with that. Well, next up, we do get the Duchess of Queensberry rules match. 12 minutes and 34 seconds. I thought that was a good match time. Of course, we got the nice promo package recapping the issues leading not only into this match, but all the way back throughout the feud into even the X7 match. I loved Heyman's commentary during the Duchess's entrance, and the crowd ate it up. Like, they hated this Duchess, and it was just exactly what you want. I thought Heyman's commentary during her entrance was spot on.
Oh, Paul Heyman, I didn't get to miss this earlier because I kept getting cut off of the internet, but that's my favorite commentary team of all time. I love Bobby Heenan and Tony Schiavone. I love Bobby and Gorilla. I love all those, JR and King. But to me, JR and Paul Heyman is my favorite commentary team of all time because I could listen to Paul Heyman talk all day. And JR, it felt like JR was even more angry at Paul Heyman through most of the commentaries than he ever was Jerry Lawler. Like, he's kind of like, oh, come on, Jerry. But for Paul Heyman, he'd get really angry at Paul Heyman, what Paul Heyman would say. And Paul had some amazing lines. That's my favorite commentary team. I love them. And so anything Paul Heyman said on this show or any other show was gold to me. And JR's reactions to most of them were great too.
Well, it was such an abrupt transition from JR and King to JR and Paul. Paul brings such a different product and knowledge of the product to the commentary booth. So that's what makes it so good, is he wasn't trying to be JR and the King. He was trying to be Paul fucking Heyman, and he did a great job of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely he did. Just fun listening to those two banter back and forth. Probably more fun than JR and King because you knew JR and King were friends. You didn't really know. As it turned out, Paul Heyman and JR do get along. But you didn't know that at the time. It just kind of felt like this new guy just being thrown in. And I admit at the time, I didn't really care one way or the other. But looking back on it is when I really got to appreciate just how good that team was together.
Absolutely. So I love Jericho's promo heading to the ring. This was classic Jericho. He just riffed on Regal and the Duchess the whole time heading into the ring. I absolutely loved that. What'd you think of Jericho's entrance?
It was probably the best part of the match. That at the very end.
Me and you were going to disagree on this too.
Probably.
Me and you were going to disagree on this. I thought the crowd seemed to enjoy the matchup. I enjoyed the fast-paced start for Regal. He bumped all over for Jericho. I really enjoyed, though, when it was time to switch over into the heat, he just kind of swatted Jericho out of the air. I thought that was such a beautiful move. Like, swatted him down like a fly when Jericho went to the top rope. I said that I thought great pacing from both men. Regal really slowed it down and made everybody feel everything when he was on top. I like the use of rounds for the false finish there. That was good. I think each time that they interrupted Jericho, I thought that was great heel heat. I thought Heyman's best work on commentary was during this matchup. I did love seeing Jericho finally get his hands on the Duchess at the end. I did give it 4 stars.
I felt like there was a match that I needed to watch and try to watch it objectively. And I don't know, for me, I love both guys, and I really like the WrestleMania match. I like the WrestleMania match better. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they both did great work, and it's not even necessarily their work. I think I even said that to you yesterday. It wasn't what they did in the ring because I thought they were great. I just didn't know what the hell a Duchess of Queensberry match was. And I know that was part of it. I get that was part of it. But for me, I'm just sitting there. I've watched this thing 20 times now, and I'm still sitting there going, what the hell is a Duchess of Queensberry rules match? Like, have you ever been given an answer to that of what it exactly is? It's
Well,
just
hell
two
no,
guys.
that
I,
was
mean, I think it would have been better if they would have just given them a normal match, because those two could go, and the match itself was fine. It was the not knowing the rules that drove me crazy, I guess.
well, and I think they didn't give them a normal match because we saw that a month earlier at WrestleMania. I think that the actual Duchess of Queensberry situation helped the match. It got good heat on Regal because every time Jericho makes him tap in the lion tamer, and sure enough, oh, you can't win by submission. So then Regal gets disqualified. Oh, no disqualification. It was beautiful how they did it. I mean, it's a classic, one of those nobody knows what the rules matches are, but it was beautifully done in my opinion. Okay, next up we get Vince's segment with the Big Show backstage. And again, another classic Vince McMahon segment. I loved Vince hyping Big Show up. He really sounded like an asshole talking about Shane. This was before that subtle turn to where Shane was the heel as the owner of WCW and Vince was the face as the owner of the WWF. This was probably about a month and a half before that subtle heel turn. But yeah, I really enjoyed seeing Vince work with Show here.
Yeah, I think this was around, and this is right after maybe Big Show came back from Ohio Valley Wrestling. So they kind of just threw him into I think maybe at the Royal Rumbles when he made his return, because he spent like a good year in Louisville.
Something like that.
So they threw him into a big storyline right off the bat, and he and Shane worked well together. They had a couple other matches that were pretty good too. I thought this one was pretty good.
This one was great.
Vince was always a great asshole, so that's just him being, I think.
He was great. Okay, next up we get the 30-minute submission match. This one's that one that a lot of people point to on this card and say that it was the best match of the night. 31 minutes, 33 seconds. I really enjoyed the hype package showcasing the crossface and the ankle lock. I love how they focused on those two moves as the deadly moves that needed to be avoided in order to be victorious in this contest. What'd you think?
Yeah, the video package was great. We missed the Kurt Angle promo earlier where he's I think his line was something like, the clock may say 30 minutes, but for Benoit it's going to be a lifetime. Now, excuse me, I got to shine my medals.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
It was perfect. Kurt Angle not caring, overlooking Benoit, perfect heel Kurt Angle. And Benoit, no matter what happened the rest of his life, was one of the greatest of all time. Just
absolutely
phenomenal in the ring. So this was a match I was excited about 20 years ago when it happened. And I was a little disappointed in the outcome at the time because I'm a Kurt Angle fan. But, I was looking forward to the match.
Absolutely. So one thing I noticed, it's weird hearing Kurt Angle's entrance music and seeing Kurt Angle make an entrance without the "You Suck" chants. That was crazy to me. I was sitting there thinking, man, I thought those were already going on by this point. But yeah, it's definitely weird seeing Kurt Angle make an entrance without the "You Suck" chants.
And with hair.
Yeah, that too. Kurt Angle with hair is weird now. I thought he cut a great heel promo about Chicago sports, and of course the crowd gave him everything he needed as far as booing him. They did some great technical wrestling to begin things off. I like the back and forth chain wrestling that they did to start things off. I put that both men did a great job of avoiding each other's finishing moves, the crossface and the ankle lock, very quickly off the bat. I like the nice false finish on the outside with the crossface where Angle tapped out on the outside. And Angle did a great job for the rest of the matchup of selling his shoulder. I thought it was a sudden end to the decision, to decision one with the knee bar for Kurt. I thought it was great. Of course, the knee bar, you work the leg, ankle lock. So a perfect thing there. The other thing I noticed, I didn't realize how long the Woo had been around for the knife edge chops, but I heard it whenever they started chopping each other. Of course, I thought it was a beautiful arm breaker for decision number 2 to tie it. Of course, again, cross arm breaker, crossface, all worked in well together. I thought that it was great. Cheap Heat with the chair for the decision, before the decision for Angle to go up 3-1. I thought quick decision into the third using the crossface from on Benoit to go up 2 for Angle. I love how Angle is breaking every rule imaginable. The announcers really got over how desperate Benoit was at this point. Beautiful torque on the half crab to draw within 1 for Benoit. Angle literally running out of the clock at one point in this matchup. I think there was like 12 or 13 minutes left. And Angle literally running around the ring trying to stay away from Benoit. Beautiful to me. The announcers did a great job putting over the clock, being Benoit's enemy. I thought the STF rear naked choke attempt was a little awkward looking. I thought it was a nice sequence to get to the ankle lock and tie it for Benoit. I would have liked to see Angle get the ankle lock the first time within 30 seconds left for Benoit to survive instead of, I think, he locked it in with like 10 left. I thought it was a beautiful sequence to finish the match and get the crossface over as an out-of-nowhere move. I gave it 4 3/4 stars. What about you?
I went the full Monty. I gave it 5, and that was because I'm just a massive fan of chain wrestling. I love mat wrestling. And honestly, Benoit was the only guy on the planet, in the world of professional wrestling anyway, that could have been booked in a wrestling match with Kurt Angle, and it was legitimately, he's got a chance. You felt like Benoit had a chance. No other wrestler on the planet could go technically, not even Bret Hart in his prime or some of those other guys, could have technically gotten in the ring with Kurt Angle and made it believable that they would have had a chance to beat him. Benoit was the only person I can think of that could get on the mat and wrestle and make it look real and legitimate enough that you felt like Kurt Angle was in legit jeopardy. Otherwise, Kurt Angle would have just killed everybody. And this was 30 minutes of just classic, it was mixed in, classic wrestling mixed in with, the heel cheating, like you said, with Kurt Angle breaking the rules and getting the advantage by breaking the rules. And Benoit surviving at the end. I'm with you. He should have survived longer. I mean, the first Iron Man match, Shawn was in the sharp, I think, for the last minute of the match before.
That's what I was thinking of too.
So
that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, it should have been a little bit longer, but that's, again, I think we both agree that's a little of a nitpicky thing because we can't find anything else to complain about. The match was that good.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break, kind of plug an event we got coming up, but we'll be right back with more of our Backlash review.
All right, y'all. We've been planning this for weeks. And if we stick to the plan, stick to the script, everything will go down exactly the way that we want it to be. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to show up to the battle at the Catalina Wild Mixer, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to blend in with the crowd.
I just want to get gangster.
But what they don't know is Big Booty over here.
Big Booty, that's my name.
Big Booty. When the second match starts, you gonna come in and you gonna cause a distraction. Just come in and start shooting the place up.
Say bang, pow, pow.
When the fire alarm go off and while everybody distracted by you,
bang, bang,
I'ma hot-shot it over to the door and I'ma hit the money box. Mm-hmm. Now,
bang, 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 bang.
Where D-Lay at?
I'm here, boss.
D-Lay. This is what you do, fool.
What we doing, boss?
When all that is going on, when Big Booty get everybody standing up, I need you to take off and run outside and go get the car. Because you need to be at the front door.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is this. He going to hit the ninja gas.
The ninja gas.
And then I'm going to hit the ninja gas. And I'm going to pop out.
Boss, what's the ninja gas?
The ninja gas. The ninja gas is this. Ninja gas.
Ninja gas. I thought that was called instant transmission.
It don't matter what it's called. Just know I'm going to be there.
You right.
You need to be there with the car, okay? Now look. I don't want to bought this fat Jitsu shirt so that I can blend in with the crowd. It's a wrestling show. Big Booty, you look good with that NWO shirt on, pimp.
I know I do, boss.
But D-Lay, what you wearing? You can't wear that, fool.
Why not? They look good.
We're supposed to be robbing a place and you up here with a shirt that say hug me on it, fool. We're supposed to be gangsters, killers. Not trying to hug kids and old ladies.
I mean, it say free hugs, not hug me, but, you know, it look good, though.
All right, so y'all get y'all mask.
Yeah, it's in the
sure
shop.
do.
See, when I bought this Fat Jitsu shirt, I also bought a Fat Jitsu mask. So when nobody see my face the whole time that I'm there.
We supposed to have our mask on the whole time?
Yes, you're supposed to have your mask on the whole time.
You know this, stupid.
You bought a Halloween mask.
I bought a Halloween mask,
Another
boss.
stupid thing. Show me your mask.
Dang, look good, though, look.
Yeah, that motherfucker is ugly.
See?
Yeah, you did the thing with that one. That motherfucker is ugly. Hey, you the one that's gonna cause a distraction. But hey, all right, boys, it's time to settle up. It's time to go make some money. We finna rob everybody at the Battle of the Catalina Wine Mixer.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
Welcome to the Wrestling Wrap-Up with Michael and Aaron, where we take the top lines and most important moments in professional wrestling history, and we examine them right here for you, the fan. It's the Wrestling Wrap-Up with Michael and Aaron, and it begins right now.
And we're back, getting back into it, Aaron. Next up, we have a backstage segment with Undertaker, Kane, and then Triple H and Stephanie. I love how they show possible dysfunction within the Undertaker and Kane, and Triple H wanting to capitalize upon that. Of course, Vince comes in and says he only has one son, and it's Triple H. Like, just beautiful work by everybody involved here, in my opinion.
Yeah, people used to complain all the time about the McMahons being on TV too much, and they probably were on camera way more than they needed to be. But it was usually pretty entertaining. Usually, not always, but usually something big happened when they were on TV. So I was okay with it. And yeah, this was great heel Vince McMahon right here. Again,
Absolutely.
always being an ass.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, next up we get Shane McMahon versus The Big Show in a last man standing match. This one came in at 11 minutes, 55 seconds. Again, a great hype video showing Vince trying to punish Shane for buying WCW and making the show look like a monster. My first thought was, man, Big Show 20 years ago looks like he's nowhere in the shape he's in 20 years later today. I think there was a nice little reception for Shane, who's carrying the Shane of the Beanstalk book. I thought Shane used his speed well to set the tone for the match. I love the use of the ether to try and put Big Show down for the 10 count. Nice run in by Vince, but a terrible, terrible chair shot. I still love Shane O'Mac's jerseys from his matches. Still one of my favorite parts of them. I love Show's mean streak, continually picking them up at 8. Test with a terrible big boot. Oh, my God. Test ends up falling on his ass. That was great. Nice fight from Shane. Shane with the super bump off the backlash set for the finish. I gave it 3 stars. What say you, Aaron?
I gave it 3.5, and yeah, the big boot was bad, but I loved seeing Tess do something because I always thought at the time I thought Tess was highly unused for some reason. I thought He had a good look. I didn't think overall his work was that bad. I thought he should have been used more than he was. So I would love seeing Test in there. And it kind of played back. It was a long-term story with Shane and Test, because if you think about it, I think it was SummerSlam '99. They had a no-holds-barred kind of match, where Test was going to marry Stephanie.
Lover or leave her.
Yeah, love her or leave her. And they continued that where Shane and Test kind of got each other. They kind of got respect for each other after that. And then Shane was going to let Stephanie marry Test and back off. And then they sort of become friends. So over the years, Test would pop up here and there in Shane's storylines.
Right.
I don't know if they meant it that way, but it felt like a long-term story thing. And
it's interesting you bring that up, because JR did bring that up on commentary, that Shane was at one point going to be Shane's brother-in-law and all that shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was very nice. That was very nicely done. So next up, we get the Triple H, Stephanie, and Vince McMahon backstage. Oh, what was your star rating on that one? Did you say 3.5?
3.5. I really liked it. Yeah.
Next up, we got Triple H, Stephanie, and Vince backstage segment. The WWF New York segment. I love that Vince is reinforcing the issue between him and Shane. Man, I love and miss Brian Christopher as Grandmaster Sexay. He was perfect right there when he interrupted Steve Blackman. I literally laughed out loud. His timing was as good as his father's.
Well, what was it? The Big Show thinks he's bad and thinks he's all whack, but he just got booyah'd by Shane O'Mac.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Rest in peace, man. God, I got to meet him literally like 2 months before he died at a CWA show in Hot Springs. He came with Jerry, and they were doing like a side by side at the table. And Lawler was only charging $10 for an autograph and picture, which I thought, God, I got to take that opportunity. And Brian Christopher didn't charge anything. He just wanted he just wanted to talk to the fans. And so I got pictures of me and him together, and he was so cool and so nice. And when I found out he died a couple of months later, I was, like everybody else, shocked. It was sad. Rest in peace, man.
Definitely a loss there, and we all miss him. Next up, we get a triple threat match: Matt Hardy versus Christian versus Eddie Guerrero. 6 minutes and 37 seconds. I said the crowd clearly needed a break from what they just witnessed. They were kind of dead for these three normally hot competitors. Eddie was great at playing the crowd and getting the heat or pop he needed. Love Christian stabbing Eddie in the back. Eddie's selling was on another level in this matchup. Awkward moment in the ropes for Matt and Eddie with I believe it was a sunset flip. Nice handspring DDT. Loved Eddie's suplexes and brainbusters. Nobody does a suplex like Eddie. I love his suplexes. Crazy timing for Eddie on the kick out. No room for error. I said for what it was a great match overall for what it was. 2 3/4 stars. I feel like it's just lacking more time. It needed more time, but of course we had to get to the main event. It was what they call a let me up match, in my opinion.
It was, and I don't really understand at the end of the day why they couldn't have just put, and I don't mean this to sound negative, but at the time nobody cared so much. Most of the women's matches were bathroom breaks anyway. These three guys deserved a whole lot better than a filler match. I mean,
right.
These three guys deserved a like you said, way more than 6 minutes. First of all, that's ridiculous. Eddie can't get a good sweat going in 6 minutes.
Right.
So they deserved a lot more than 6 minutes. I thought the match was great. I loved it. Like you said, I just wish it was longer. They just needed to be a little bit longer. I think I gave it either 3.5 or 4, somewhere in that range. And that's just because I felt for them for the time they were given. They put everything they could into it. And,
absolutely.
They made it, Christian, think back at this point, Christian was still, so was Matt Hardy. This is really Eddie Guerrero's match to kind of make or break. Because Matt and Christian, as great as they've become since then, singles wise, at the time they were still tag team wrestlers.
Yeah,
we hadn't seen Christian in singles matches very much. Matt Hardy at all.
Yeah, I mean, and even then we saw their tag team partners, Edge and Jeff Hardy, both interfere in this matchup to reinforce that.
Which was really the only gripe I had is and again, it's nitpicky, I guess, but why? You know, at the end of the day, why not just make it a 3-team triangle tag team match or something, and give Eddie? I mean, I think at the time he was with Saturn.
The Radicals, yeah.
Eddie and Saturn against the Hardys against Edge and Christian. You could have given a little bit more time, and you could have gotten all 6 guys on the card instead of just making a triple threat match for a title that really nobody gives a crap about the European title. Nobody cared about the European title. And, you know, then people could have seen all 6 guys, and then you didn't have to have this BS interference at the end of what was a really good match. I mean, for 5.5 minutes, they tore the house down. And then all of a sudden, Edge comes in, and then, like you said, Jeff Hardy comes in, and it's all about those two at that point. And, you know, the ending is what it is. But I just think they could have gotten more out of it if they just made a triple threat tag match or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, next up we get the Brothers of Destruction versus the 2-man Power Trip. This is the main event for the WWF Tag Team, Intercontinental, and WWF Championships. We're going to kind of go back and forth on this. My first point was I thought the hype package was great, showing how the 2-man Power Trip was taking over the WWF. Great old school WWF promo package. I thought it hit the spot in selling this matchup.
It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. You know, you literally went from WrestleMania to the Raw before, or the SmackDown, I guess, before, and you just chronologically went through the whole thing, and it was perfect. You got some great lines in there too. So, yeah, perfect video package.
I felt like the crowd, even though that they had just seen the matchup that they had just seen, and then the last man standing match, I thought they were electric for the main event. It gave it a big fight feel for this main event.
Yeah, the crowd was jacked, and it made me jacked watching it yesterday. Like I said, I've seen this show quite a few times. It's been a little while, though. So yesterday when I watched it for the first time in a while and the crowd got jacked, I got jacked. And I think I even told you I can't wait to see crowds again because, man, that was maybe Backlash wasn't as good as I thought. It was just the crowd that made it that way because that Chicago crowd was phenomenal.
It was great. Big pop for Austin's music, and I put in parentheses, he'll turn a complete failure. Austin got a babyface pop like he always did heading into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going to kind of disagree on the total failure, but people didn't want to boo Stone Cold. I get that, but I don't know. It was a huge pop. It gave me goosebumps. Triple H got a huge pop too, though. So I mean, it's not like the crowd was into everybody in this match. I don't really know if the crowd had a favorite overall. I think they were just kind of just wanting to see a hell of a tag match because everybody got a pop.
Well, and the thing with this is, Chicago's known to respect the competitor, not necessarily their heel-face alignment. So, I thought a great line from JR. Triple H broke my arm. Austin broke my damn heart. Loved that. Really showed that they were trying their damnedest to get that over. I loved Heyman's response, though. He really made Austin sound like a bastard.
Stone Cold. That's how you do it, JR. Stone Cold.
Right.
Oh man, this match was great, but the commentary back and forth was made it even better. This is one of those matches where the commentary makes a great match even better than it already was, because Heyman just kept the whole match just kept mashing it into JR that's Stone Cold. That's your former best friend, Stone Cold. Look what he did to you.
Right. I thought the crowd popped like only they can for Taker. Loved the Limp Bizkit entrance here. It was great.
All 4 entrance music. I mean, I think I even wrote this down too. 4 of the best entrance musics ever. Like, I love Stone Cold's Disturbed remix theme that he did then.
Yeah. I wish we could have gotten that a little while longer.
I do too, because his original was great, but the Disturbed theme was just awesome. The Game by Motorhead, still my top 5 favorite themes ever. And that music hits. I don't care if you love him or if you hate him. That music hits, you get goosebumps. It's
bro, phenomenal. When Lemmy was there to perform it, oh God.
Oh,
that's it.
Yeah. Stone Cold did a thing the other day. It's kind of breaking subject for a second, but he did an interview the other day with, I think it was with Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre asked him his favorite entrances of all time, and he said it was Triple H's at WrestleMania 17, the first time Motorhead played into the ring against The Undertaker. Just the entrance was just goosebumps on that entrance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A great fucking entrance. I thought to begin the match, Austin and Triple H did a great job of selling the respect of Kane and Undertaker, where they were on the outside trying to find a way in. I loved that. I love that they, showed some respect to the faces and how they knew that they would have to be strategic rather than face these guys straight up.
Yeah, it was perfect heel, respecting the baby face, but backing off and also getting the crowd against you too. They did such a great, not only of respecting their opponents, but of getting the crowd that cheered them like crazy when they came to the ring to kind of start the turn on. Because all of a sudden the crowd's like, all right, we paid to see this main event. Let's get the match started. And they walked around outside the ring for a good 5 or 6 minutes. Just
and that was beautiful too, just to get that boo, because everybody was ready for this matchup, and Austin and Triple H put on the brakes, and I loved it. I love how Triple H caught 2 shots from Kane to kind of even the odds a little bit for Kane's injury. I like that. The brawl to start it out, nice choice. No one was looking for a technical matchup between these 4.
No, to go out there and do a lockup and an arm drag and leapfrog and all that stuff would have been ridiculous. Because these are 4 big tough dudes that everybody knows can fight. So let them go out. Let them go out and fight. No sense in trying to sugarcoat it or anything.
Exactly. I like the choice for Triple H and Kane to start off the actual matchup. It gave them the option to tell the story of the injury, and I think they did a good job throughout of telling that elbow story.
Yeah, it really made you feel, I think for the first time probably his whole career, it made you feel for Kane because he was fighting so hard with that one arm and trying so hard. He did such a great job of selling that arm. I almost don't even know if maybe it was legitimately hurt. I don't think it was, but he made you think for a minute. Maybe he is legitimately hurt because he sold it like a champ the entire match. He was holding it up against the side. He barely used it, if at all. He was the MVP for me in this match because he sold so well.
I thought Austin did a great job when Kane made the tag to Taker. You saw him literally jump across the ring into the turnbuckle to get away from Taker. Loved that.
That was hilarious and awesome. And the look on his face, he looked like a little kid about to get in trouble from his mama or something. He had this look on his face, like, get away, stay away, leave me alone. And it was a perfect heel. It
absolutely was. I thought it was an interesting story with Taker being reluctant to tag in Kane unless he had either Austin or Triple H really hurt. I thought that was a good story.
Yeah, it perfectly played in on the arm. And this is one of those matches I where you just, maybe you don't know as a fan. Maybe you just look at Undertaker as being this total badass, which he is, but the dude knew psychology. He knew how to work. He knew how to work a crowd. He knew how to work a story. And I've not always been the hugest Undertaker fan, to be honest with you. But in a lot of ways, that match made me respect him even more because he proved just how much he could work and what he could do in the ring. Just from a storytelling standpoint.
I like the transition from the old school move into the clotheslining Triple H over the top rope. I thought that was a beautiful transition from Taker. And again, Kane proven to be the weak link. They constantly told that story of Kane being the weak link. Even if Taker and Kane were on top, as soon as that tag was made to Kane, it switched like that, and I love that.
Yeah, it's JR and Paul Heyman, like I said earlier, making a great match even better because they knew what story there was to tell, and it was obvious. I mean, all you do is look at Kane's elbow. They didn't even try to hide it. The elbow was heavily bandaged, so it made it an obvious target. And, you know, I can't think of anything negative to say about the match as a whole, to be honest with you. I thought it was all just very well done.
I thought it was as well. I thought it was an interesting choice to have Taker take the heat in this contest, but only because Kane was costing the team. So Kane, you know, Taker pretty much took all the heat and pretty much made this look like a handicap match because Kane was the weak link. And I like that they changed up that formula. You would think Kane would take the heat, but it was Taker that took the heat in this matchup.
Yeah, it was a great, you know, flip-flop, I guess. It also set up the ending because, you know, Kane,
right?
Which we'll get to in a minute, but it set up the ending perfectly with Kane being on the outside and just trying to keep constantly trying to get in, even though he shouldn't be in the ring. He kept trying to get in. It just set up the ending perfectly.
Right. I love Kane clearing house off the hot tag, but as soon as Triple H got a chance, right to the elbow. Loved it. Loved how subtle it was. It was just a quick punch right to that elbow, and all of a sudden Kane's done. Loved it.
Yeah, that's Triple H's what they call him, the cerebral assassin. I mean, they call him that for a reason. He's the student of the game. He's always thinking, and especially back then, from probably around 2000 to 2005 ish, was his best run. His best 5 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought the announcers did a great job. JR and Heyman did a great job throughout the whole matchup, putting over what's at stake. Control of the WWF. You really felt like control of the whole company was on the line in this matchup.
Yeah, and you do. I can't really think of anything else to add right there. You do. Yeah, they did a great job. They did a great job of making it feel like everything was on the line because it really was everything on the line. So
I thought it was a nice bait and switch. I liked the bump from Stephanie and then McMahon out there coming in with the sledgehammer and just dropping it and being the distraction to cause the finish.
Stephanie's bump was great. She took two pretty good bumps in that match. I think she might have taken more bumps in that match than Austin did, to be honest with you.
That's true.
I think Stone Cold didn't. He didn't take very many. But she took two great bumps and it set up the ending perfectly.
So I gave this one 4 3/4 stars for the main event. What about you?
I gave it 4.5. So we're pretty close. Right on the same wavelength. It was a great main event to a great show. It had a lot to follow. So
it really did.
If you didn't have those 4 guys out there, the main event might not have been as good and the show might have suffered for it. I think a lot of people do look back at this show fondly because Shane's bump, this ultimate submission match, and the main event. Those are 3 things you can take from the show and go, that made that show great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, JR, after Shane's bump, said, we're going to be replaying this for years and years. Yeah, it's 20 years later, and we're still replaying it. Match of the night for me was a tie between the main event and the ultimate submission match. I thought both were great for what they did. They both told great stories, and they were 2 widely different matchups. So those 2 were my matches of the night. What say you?
Well, if I'm going to pick 2, I'll pick the same exact 2. But if I have to pick just one, I'll go ultimate submission. Just because Kurt and Benoit had so much to live up to. There was probably more pressure on those 2 guys to perform in that match than the main event because you knew those 4, if they wanted to, could have just went out there and phoned it in, and it still would have been good because those 4 names. But Kurt was still really young in his career. I think he's only been going for like a year and a half at this point.
Right.
Maybe 2 years.
Right. He had just dropped his first WWF title to The Rock back in February. So what, 2 months earlier?
Yeah. And Benoit hadn't been there very long either. Maybe a little over a year, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, a little over.
So this was a big moment for those 2 because they had a great match at WrestleMania. And it was like, okay, can you follow that great match at WrestleMania with this one? And I think they knocked it out of the park. So I'll go ultimate submission as my favorite.
Absolutely, they did. Well, definitely, guys, if you agree, disagree, what have you, feel free to comment and let us know how you feel about Backlash 2001, how you feel about the concept we're trying out here today with the classic pay-per-view reviews. Any final thoughts before we put a bow on her, Aaron?
No, just it was an amazing show. One of my favorites. I can't ever name a top 10 or 20 favorite shows ever, but if I had to, it'd be on my list somewhere. And it's definitely my favorite Backlash ever.
Absolutely. It's got to be in the top 10 WWF pay-per-views of all time. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, for Aaron, I am Mike. We will see you later.
Do I have everybody's attention now?